The jungle was quiet, too quiet. Birds didn't chirp. Leaves didn't move. Even the wind felt scared to breathe. Sayla, a young alien girl with pale green skin and wide silver eyes, walked carefully on the broken path. She held a small scanner in her hand, looking for metal scraps or energy cells hidden under fallen branches. Behind her, two other young aliens followed her friends, Rico and Valley. They were all too young for war. But war had come anyway. The war had turned their world into ash and metal. Now they searched for anything they could sell, for food or water. "Stay close," Sayla whispered. "This place is dangerous." Rico laughed. "You always say that," but Sayla didn't laugh. Her scanner beeped once soft and low. There was something under the dirt, something metallic. She bent down, slowly brushed the dirt away. Rico and Valley walked ahead, not noticing. Then suddenly boomed the explosion, ripped through the silence like thunder. Flames and smoke filled the air. Sayla's scream was sharp and terrible. Her body flew backward, hitting the ground hard. She couldn't hear, couldn't breathe. Her leg, it was gone. Where her right leg used to be, now there was only blood, torn flesh, and burning pain. Rico and Veli screamed in panic and ran. They didn't look back. Sayla was alone. She cried and dragged herself to a tree. Her breathing was fast and shaky. The blood wouldn't stop. She pressed her hands on the wound, trying to scream, but only gasps came out. In the distance, human soldiers patrolled the area. They had heard the explosion. The leader, Sergeant Reed, raised a hand, weapons up, eyes open. With him was Medic John, a calm man with tired eyes. He listened carefully. Then he heard a faint cry, almost like a child. "There's someone hurt out there," John said. Reed frowned. "Could be a trap. I have to check," John replied. Already moving toward the trees, he moved fast but careful. The smoke was thick, the ground still hot. Then he saw her, the alien girl, lay on the ground, face pale, lips trembling, her silver eyes full of pain and fear. Her right leg was gone below the knee. John dropped to his knees beside her. "She's just a kid," he said softly. "Back away," shouted another soldier. "We don't help aliens." John ignored him. He opened his medical kit and started cleaning the wound. Sayla tried to push him away, weak and scared. "No hurt," she cried in broken English. "No," John said gently. "I help." She stared at him, confused. He smiled. "You'll be okay." He sprayed a fast clotting foam on the wound, wrapped it tightly with medical tape, then pulled out a small injector and pressed it to her arm. The pain eased a little. Her breathing slowed, but her eyes stayed on him full of questions. "Why?" she asked softly. "Because," John answered, "someone has to care." Reed walked over, looked down. "We can't take her with us," he said. "She's bleeding out." John replied, "She won't survive if we leave her here. She's not our responsibility," Reed snapped. "She's alive," John said firmly, "and I'm a medic." There was silence. Only the sound of distant wind and soft groans from Sayla. Reed sighed. "Fine. You've got 5 minutes." Then he turned and walked away. John quickly opened another case. Inside was an emergency synthetic leg unit meant for humans. But maybe it could work. He looked at Sayla. "I need to try something," he said. "You trust me?" She nodded weakly. John began scanning her biology, adjusting the connectors. He had no idea if it would work, but he had to try in that moment. Deep in a jungle full of war and hate, a human medic knelt beside an alien child and chose to save her, even if no one else would. The sound of Sayla's cries faded into the hum of medical tools. John worked fast, his hands steady but his mind racing. She had lost so much blood, and the synthetic leg design for humans wasn't sinking yet. He tapped buttons on his scanner, adjusting voltage. A soft beep warned him time was running. Out behind him, Sergeant Reed stood with his arms crossed. "She's not our problem, John," he said. "We're not babysitting aliens." John didn't look up. "It's not a problem," he replied. "She's a patient," Reed sighed. Loudly, "We have orders, we also have hearts," John answered. The other soldiers stood nearby, silent, but watching. Some looked angry, others unsure. The war had taken many lives, some of them blamed the aliens for everything. Helping one now felt like betrayal to some, but John didn't care. This was his duty, and deep down, he felt something more, a connection. The alien girl, Selah, opened her eyes again. Her lips were dry, and her voice was weak. "You help." "Why?" John gave a small smile. "You remind me of someone," he said. He didn't explain, but the memory of his younger sister flashed in his mind. She had died from a landmine 2 years ago. Selah looked at the fake leg beside her. She touched it with trembling fingers. "Human leg?" she asked. "Yes," John said, "but I will make it fit you." He pulled a small adapter from his kit, something experimental, not meant for aliens, but maybe, just maybe, it could connect organic tissue to human tech. He clipped it to the base of the leg and then to her thigh. Selah winced, her whole body trembling. "It will hurt," John warned gently, "but it might save your life." She nodded slowly, tears running down her cheeks. "I trust," she whispered. John carefully pressed the activation switch. A small click sounded, then a buzz. Blue lights glowed from the synthetic limb as it powered on. The pain hit her first sharp and deep, but she didn't scream, she gritted, her teeth holding onto John's arm. "Breathe," he whispered. "You're doing great." The leg twitched slightly. The system showed 50% connection. Not perfect, but enough. He tightened the connectors and injected a stabilizer. Selah slumped back, breathing heavily, but still alive. Reed shook his head. "You risked our mission for this." John stood up slowly. "I saved a life," he said. "That's always worth it." A voice crackled in over their comms. "Patrol team, enemy drones moving toward your location." Reed cursed under his breath. "We've got to move." He looked at Selah, then at John. "She slow us down." John didn't blink. "Then we slow down," he replied. "She comes with us." Reed looked around. His men were watching closely now. Some nodded, others stayed quiet. Finally, Reed growled, "Fine, but if we all die, it's on you." John gently lifted Selah into his arms. She was light, her body still shaking, but she rested her head on his shoulder. "Safe," she whispered. "Yes," John said. "I promise." They moved quickly through the jungle. The trees were dense, the air hot and heavy. Every step felt tense. Any noise could mean enemy fire. Suddenly, a low buzzing sound filled the air. "Drones!" shouted a soldier, pointing up. 2 black machines hovered through the trees. Scanning the ground, John ducked under a large branch, shielding Selah with his body. The others raised their weapons, ready to fire. But Reed made a decision. "Don't shoot," he ordered. "Not unless they fire first." The drones passed slowly, scanning. One paused, its camera focusing on Selah. Then, just as quickly, it moved on. "Let's go," Reed said. "Now?" The group moved again, faster now. John looked down at Selah. Her eyes were closed, but her fingers held onto his shirt. She was still fighting, still surviving. They reached the edge of the jungle, where a human dropship waited. The ramp lowered as soldiers ran inside. John carried Selah aboard. Reed followed, still watching for danger. Inside the ship, John laid Selah down on a medical bed. Her leg buzzed faintly, the lights dimming but steady. He checked her vitals, weak, but stable. She opened her eyes one more time. "You not leave?" she asked softly. John smiled, brushing her hair gently. "Never," he said. As the dropship lifted into the sky, leaving the war-torn jungle behind. Sayla slept for the first time in days, and John sat beside her, knowing the real fight had only just begun. The dropship hummed as it moved through the sky. Inside, the lights flickered gently, casting a soft glow over the metal walls. Sayla lay still on the medical bed, wrapped in clean sheets. The synthetic leg, half human, half alien modified, blinked. With tiny blue lights, it was working, but barely. John sat beside her, his arms crossed and his face tired. He hadn't slept, hadn't eaten. All he could think about was whether she would survive the next few hours. The other soldiers sat across the cabin, silent, watching. Some of them still didn't agree with what John had done, but none of them said anything now. Reed stepped closer, lowering his voice. "We're landing at Base 17, he said. "Medics there will decide what happens next." John didn't answer. He was staring at Sayla's face, pale and sweaty. Her breathing was shallow, her hands twitching. Suddenly, her eyes opened, silver and wide, glowing faintly in the dim light. "You," she whispered, her voice dry. John leaned forward. "I'm here." She looked down at her leg, blinking slowly. "What is this?" John hesitated, then smiled a little. "It's a human leg," he said, "but I changed it so it could work for you." Sayla reached out and touched the metal with her fingertips. It was cold, hard, and unfamiliar, but it was hers now. "It hurts," she whispered. "I know," John replied. "It will get better." She stared at him. "No one from my world would do this," she said. "No one from my side would either." John replied, "But here we are." There was silence for a moment. Then she said, "Why help me?" John looked away. For a long second, he didn't speak. Then he said softly, "Because I couldn't help my sister." Sayla tilted her head. Confused, John explained. "Years ago, she stepped on a mine just like you. I was too late to save her." Her silver eyes softened. "I'm sorry," she whispered. John nodded. "Helping you. Maybe it won't fix the past, but it gives me peace." The dropship shook slightly as it began to land. The doors opened with a hiss, and the cold wind of Base 17 swept inside. Soldiers in white and gray uniforms stood waiting among them. Human doctors and alien diplomats. This base was one of the rare mixed zones where humans and aliens tried to work together. John lifted Sayla gently from the bed. She winced, but didn't cry. She held onto his shoulder tightly, the synthetic leg dragging a little behind her. They walked down the ramp together. Everyone watched, silent, curious, judging. One alien elder stepped forward, his skin darker and his robe flowing in the wind. He frowned. "She was injured and repaired by humans." "Yes," John said. "Steady, I did it. She is changed," the elder said. "She is saved," John replied. A human doctor walked up next, scanning Sayla's vitals. "She needs more care," the doctor said. "But the synthetic limb is connecting, which is impressive," John handed over the medical logs. "They're not perfect," he said, "but it's holding." Sayla looked between the humans and aliens. Her voice shook as she spoke. "I want to live." The elder stepped back, surprised. "You speak their language?" He said. "They saved me," she replied. "He saved me." There was silence again. Then the elder looked at John. "You will continue her care?" John nodded. "If she let me." Sayla reached out her hand. He took it. The moment was small but powerful. A girl with an alien heart and a man from Earth, bound not by blood or duty, but by a choice to care. That night, Sayla slept in a warm bed for the first time in many weeks. Machines monitored her, but John stayed close. He watched as the synthetic leg slowly adapted more to her body. She turned in her sleep, mumbling softly. John smiled and leaned back. For the first time in a long while, he felt like he had done something truly right. The war was still going. The galaxy still broken. But in that small medical room, something stronger than war had started trust. The night air was cold at Base 17. The stars above were bright. But the ground below was full of shadows and silence. John sat on a metal chair beside Sayla's bed. She was sleeping, her chest rising and falling gently. The synthetic leg attached to her thigh gave off a soft blue glow. It was working better than anyone had expected, but John couldn't relax. Something didn't feel right. He stood up and walked to the window. The base was surrounded by jungle. Tall alien trees with black trunks and glowing leaves stood like silent giants. The night was too quiet. No bugs, no birds, not even wind. His comm beeped in his ear. It was Sergeant Reed. John. "We've got motion near the west tree line," Reed said. "Could be animals." John replied. "Or not," Reed added. "Get ready, just in case." John turned and looked at Sayla. She was still asleep, a faint smile on her lips. She had spoken earlier that day. Said she dreamed of walking again. He didn't want to wake her. But he didn't want to leave her either. He checked the window again, then froze. Something was moving in the trees, shapes, small and fast, almost like shadows with eyes. He tapped. His comm, "Reed, they're here," he said. "I see 5. No, 6 figures." Reed responded quickly. "Lock the medical wing." Alarms rang inside the base. Red lights blinked along the ceiling. Doors sealed with loud metallic clicks. Sayla woke up with a jolt, her eyes wide, confused. "What happening?" she asked. "Trouble," John said, pulling out a small sidearm from his belt. "You stay here, behind the bed." She sat up slowly, the leg twitching slightly. "Leg?" "Working," she said with pride. John gave a short smile. "Good, but don't push it." Outside, the enemy moved fast. They weren't animals. They were alien commandos, stealth units from the other side of the war. They had come not to fight, but to take. Sayla was their target. They believed she had been changed. Corrupted by humans, they wanted to remove her before her story could spread. Reed and his team engaged them near the outer walls. Gunfire echoed. Through the trees, blue flashes of plasma lit up the dark leaves. Inside the base, one of the side doors blew open with a boom. Smoke filled the hallway. 2 shadow-like soldiers rushed in. Scanning with glowing eyes, John stood in front of Sayla. Weapon raised. "Stay back," he shouted. They didn't speak. They aimed their rifles, then fired. John dove to the side, returning fire. The bullets hit one of the enemy in the shoulder, sparks flying. It dropped to the floor. Rolling in pain, the other one jumped forward. Aiming straight at Sayla, she gasped and raised her arm, trying to move. But the leg wasn't fast enough yet. The soldier raised its weapon. Then a blast of energy hit it from the side. Reed had arrived. "Rifle smoking, not today," he muttered. Stepping into the room, he looked at Sayla. "You okay?" She nodded, eyes wide. John stood up, wiping blood from his lip. "Thanks," he said. More footsteps echoed in the hallway, but they were friendly. Reinforcements from the base security team. The enemy had been pushed back. For now, the danger was gone. John turned back to Sayla. She looked shaken but alive. He knelt beside her, gently checking her vitals. "You saved me," she said, voice quiet. "No," John said. "You saved yourself. You stayed calm. You didn't panic." She reached down and touched her synthetic leg. "Before, I only knew hate from humans," she whispered. "But now, I don't know what to believe." John looked her in the eyes. "Believe in what you see," he said. "We're not all perfect, but some of us, we try." Reed stepped forward. "She's not safe here anymore," he said. "They'll come again." John nodded. "Then we move her." "Where?" Sayla asked. "To the human capital." Reed said, They'll protect you there. Sayla looked outside the broken door. The jungle burned in the distance. Smoke climbed into the stars. She touched her leg once more, then said quietly, "Okay, I'll go." The transport ship flew fast over the burning jungles. Inside the ship, the air was tense. No one spoke. John sat beside Sayla once again. She leaned back on the bench, her body weak, but her eyes awake. Her synthetic leg twitched sometimes. Still adjusting to her nervous system, she was alive, but not the same. And deep down, she knew it. Outside the window, the stars blinked calmly, but Sayla's mind was full of noise. What was she now? Not fully alien, not fully machine, some of. Her people would say she had become something dangerous. Others would say she had betrayed them. John noticed the change in her face. "You okay?" he asked gently. Sayla turned to him slowly. "I don't know," she said. "My body works, but I feel broken inside." John nodded. "I've seen that before," he replied. "It's called surviving." She blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" "When you go through something big," he explained, "your body might heal, but your heart, your mind, they take longer." Sayla looked down at the metal leg. "It doesn't feel like mine," she whispered. "It feels like a tool, not a part of me." John leaned forward. "Do you want to know a secret?" he asked. She nodded. He rolled up his sleeve, revealing a small implant near his shoulder. "A bomb hit my squad 2 years ago," he said. "I lost part of my arm." Sayla's eyes widened. "You, too?" He smiled softly. "I know how strange it feels," he said, "for a long time. I couldn't lift a cup without feeling like a stranger in my own skin." She asked, "How did you live with it?" John looked at her gently. "I stopped thinking of it as metal," he said. "I started thinking of it as proof that I survived. Not as something that replaced me, but something that helped me keep going." She listened quietly. His words were simple but strong, and somehow they felt true. "But people," she said, "they will look at me and only see the machine. Then let them look," John said. "What matters is what you see." Suddenly, the pilot's voice echoed through the cabin, approaching Earth Embassy Station. Sayla sat up straighter. She had never been this far from her planet before. Her world was all she had known. Now she was flying toward a place ruled by humans. The ship slowed down and gently landed. The doors hissed open, releasing cool air and soft light. Waiting outside was a group of humans, doctors, officers, and one woman in a gray coat with kind eyes. She stepped forward as John and Sayla exited the ship. "Welcome to the embassy," she said. "I'm Dr. Yara." John nodded. "She's the one who helped design the limb." Dr. Yara smiled at Sayla. "You're stronger than you look," she said kindly. "Let's check your vitals and make sure the leg is adapting well." They brought Sayla to a clean white room, full of soft lights and humming machines. Dr. Yara scanned her, tested her reactions, and adjusted the limb software. John waited in the hallway, pacing back and forth. He didn't like hospitals. They reminded him of loss, after what felt like hours. Dr. Yara came out. "She's stable," she said, "and adapting faster than expected." "That's good," John said. "She deserves a chance." Dr. Yara looked serious for a moment. "But there's a problem," she said. "Some alien leaders are saying we forced the leg on her, that we're turning their children into machines." John frowned. "She asked me to save her," he said. "I didn't force anything." "I know," Yara replied, "but politics is a game of fear, and they're afraid of what she represents." "Which is what?" John asked. "Hope," Yara said simply. "Hope that humans and aliens can help each other. And not everyone wants that." Later that night, John sat beside Sayla again. She looked more rested, her face calm. "I heard what they're saying," she said. "Some of my people think I'm dangerous now." John looked at her gently. "What do you think?" She smiled weakly. "I think I'm alive," she whispered, "and I think that matters more than anything." He reached out and gently touched her hand. "I'll stand by you," he said. "No matter what they say, outside, the stars still shined quietly, but inside that room, between metal and flesh, between two worlds and two hearts, a new kind of strength was growing. One built on trust, one built on survival, one built on something stronger than war. The next morning. The sky over the Earth's embassy station was gray. Clouds moved slowly, and the wind carried a deep silence. It was the kind of silence before something important happens inside the main hall. Sayla stood in front of a large curved window. Her synthetic leg clicked softly with each step. She was walking without help now. Slow but steady, John watched her from the side. Every small step she took was a sign of victory. But today was not about walking. Today, she had to speak. The alien council, called the Tribunal of the Five Moons, had demanded to see her. They believed she had been changed, maybe even controlled by humans. Some said she was no longer fully alien. "She doesn't belong to us anymore." One elder had said on the news, "She walks on metal gifted by outsiders. How can we trust her heart?" But Sayla didn't hide. She said she would face them. John didn't stop her. Instead, he stood with her, right by her side, in the council chamber. 5 alien leaders sat on high seats. Their robes shimmered, their faces calm, but their eyes were sharp and full of judgment. The chamber was crowded with other military officers, healers, reporters, even human diplomats. Everyone was waiting to see what Sayla would say. The oldest leader, Elder Voran, spoke first. "You were injured by a human-made mine," he said. "You were repaired by human technology. Do you understand how dangerous that is?" Sayla stood straight, her voice quiet but clear. "I was dying," she said. "I didn't choose the metal. I chose to live." Murmurs moved through the crowd. The second elder, a woman named Janeri, leaned forward. "Why didn't your own kind help you?" she asked. "Why trust a human?" Sayla looked down for a moment, then raised her head. "My own people ran," she said. "But the human stayed." She turned toward John. "He risked his life for me, even when others told him to leave." John stood quietly, not saying a word, but his eyes were steady. A third elder spoke next. "Some say you've been changed," he said. "Your mind influenced by human science. That you are no longer loyal to your own?" Sayla took a step forward. Each movement of her metal leg echoed through the hall. "This leg doesn't control me," she said. "It helps me stand, and I stand here as one of you." The room went silent. Her words were simple, but they hit hard. She pointed to her chest. "My blood is still the same," she said. "My voice is still mine. But my story now belongs to 2 worlds. The fourth elder narrowed his eyes. "Would you fight against your own people if asked by the humans?" "No," Sayla answered, "but I would also not fight the humans who saved me." She paused, then added, "I will fight for peace, not for sides." There was more silence. Then Elder Vurin said, "Then tell us this, do you see the humans as enemies or as allies?" Sayla didn't look at John this time. She looked straight at the council, her voice calm. "I see them as people," she said, "some good, some bad, like us, but the one who saved me. He's not my enemy, he's my friend." John finally stepped forward. "If I may speak," he said. Elder Voran nodded once. "I didn't help her to make her human," John said. "I helped her because she was in pain, because she was alone." He looked around the room. "We talk about peace, but when someone reaches out for help, we hesitate. I didn't," he added, "and neither did she." Elder Janari stood up slowly. She walked down from the high seat and stood before Sayla. She looked closely at the metal leg, then at the girl's face. "You walk on human strength," the elder said, "but you speak with your own heart." She turned to the council. "She is no longer a child of war," Gennari said. "She is a child of survival." One by one, the elders stood. No more questions, only quiet. "Respect," Elder Vorin finally said. "The tribunal recognizes Sayla as a voice between worlds. She will not be cast out." Applause rose slowly from the crowd, not loud but steady, a sign of something changing after the session. Sayla and John stepped outside. The sky was clearing, light breaking through the clouds. "You did it," John said. Sayla looked at the distant hills. "They listened," she said. "Maybe that's the first step." John smiled. "You're stronger than they thought." She smiled back. "Maybe I am," she said, tapping her leg gently. "And maybe this. Metal is part of me now, not something to hide, but something to carry forward." A month had passed since the tribunal, but the memory of that day still echoed in Sayla's mind. She had stood before the elders, in front of her own people and humans alike, and they had listened for the first time in her life. Sayla felt heard. Now the world was changing, not fast, not easy, but slowly, step by step, just like her new walk. She stood on a platform high above the city of Kiralan, a place once burned by war, now rebuilt with both alien and human hands. Below, thousands had gathered, aliens of all kinds and humans, from far-off worlds, all waiting to hear her speak again. John stood beside her, dressed in his clean uniform. He looked nervous, but proud he had been asked to speak to. But this moment, Tit, belonged to Sayla. She took a deep breath, then stepped forward. Her synthetic leg clicked softly on the stone floor. She no longer felt shame in its sound. It was part of her story now, part of her strength. When she reached the center of the platform, the crowd went silent. "I was once just a girl," she began, her voice steady and strong. "A girl who walked into a jungle and stepped on a mine." The crowd listened closely. "I lost my leg that day," she continued. "I thought I would die. I thought no one would come for me." She looked toward John, but a human did. "He didn't ask if I was worth saving," she said. "He just saved me." Many in the crowd looked moved. Some even had tears. "My people thought I was changed," she said, "and in a way, I was. But not because of the metal," she added, touching her leg. "Because I saw what peace can look like." She raised her chin. "And now, I choose to walk for peace." The crowd erupted in applause, not just from her people, but from humans too. It wasn't loud with noise. It was loud with meaning. After her speech, John took the stage. He kept his words short. "I didn't save her because of orders," he said. "I saved her because it was the right thing to do," and that was all he needed to say that evening. A peace march began, led by Sayla. She walked at the front, not hidden in a medical room anymore, but out in the open where everyone could see. Her steps were slow but full of purpose. John walked beside her, and behind them were hundreds. Alien healers, human medics, children holding flags, and soldiers from both sides. Each one took a step, not for war, but for something better. The road they walked was the same path that once led into battle. Now it was lined with lights and flowers. People cheered from balconies. Old war banners had been replaced by symbols of unity: two hands, one alien, one human, holding each other along. The way someone shouted, "Sayla, do you feel pain when you walk?" She smiled and shouted back, "Yes, but I keep walking." That answer became a chant. "Yes, but I keep walking. Yes, but I keep walking." It spread through the crowd like fire, a chant of survival, a chant of courage. As the march reached the Unity Monument, the sun began to rise. Golden light touched the towers, the trees, and the people. Sayla climbed the steps to the monument slowly. then placed her hand on the metal stone at the top. It was cold, but strong, just like the leg she stood on. She closed her eyes. In her heart, she remembered the explosion, the pain, the fear. The moment she thought she would die, and then, the hand that reached out, the human who stayed. She turned to the crowd, tears in her eyes, and whispered softly, "We walked from war to this." John came to her side. Together, he said. They didn't need to say more. The message was already written in every step they had taken. The war wasn't over across the galaxy. But here, in this place, a new kind of war had ended. The war of silence, the war of fear. And in its place stood something rare and beautiful: hope.